Good morning and welcome to Bazaar Morning Call. I am Anuj, with me, Prashant and Sonia. We are starting the penultimate day of what's been a very treacherous series. It started on such a good note, but is ending on such a poor note because of what's happening globally. And once again, for our market, there will be a 200-day moving average test, which the market's been sort of, just passing for the last couple of days. But this morning, the global risk off once again is just way too high. The dollar index is continuing with its strength as we speak. It's the highest point, at the highest point of the last 20 years, 114.56 now as we speak. And India is finally participating in this global risk off, something which it avoided for better part of the last 1 month. And we are set to open below the 200-day moving average of 16,990. And the big question is that, does this mean that we now start to participate as much on the downside, or is our outperformance going to remain intact? That, of course, is the big question. SGX Nifty indicating a big gap down, 180 points down now. 16,855. Morning.
Hi, morning. You think it was the word decoupling that ruined it for us? The minute people started saying India is decoupling, bam, here it comes, right? The fall in the market. But I mean, jokes aside, it hasn't looked good at all globally, as well as Anuj was saying. 6 straight days now, the US market's under pressure, and the Dow was down quite a bit yesterday too. The S&P 500 has now hit a new low for the year, so it's officially gone into bear market terrain. The 3600 level was also quite keenly watched. It's almost there. The SGX Nifty not looking good. Asian markets are also under pressure as we speak. So the Nikkei, last time I checked, was down about 250 odd points. And so far in September, we've sold FIIs, that is, have sold about 10,300 crores. So it's been quite hectic as far as the outflows are concerned. You know, the big question, right, Anuj, I mean, something we've been talking about for a while, at a time when the dollar index is near a 20-year high, when FIs are selling, not just in our own markets, but world over, is there any place to hide? I mean, India was so far a safe haven, but that doesn't look like the case anymore. You know,
Sonia, obviously that is the case, but we are still outperforming. Even we're falling less compared to the globe. And I'll still maintain my view that normally when you have May-June correction, then a rally, and then in September, October, the market gives you a move back towards the lows. Anecdotally, those lows are not revisited. I think we're going through a phase of flushing out of excesses, and I mean, if you build portfolio in perhaps this decline, this will be going forward. With benefit of hindsight, 1 year down the line, you'll realize that this was perhaps that buying opportunity. But right now, we're talking about near term. So in that sense, of course, yesterday's market action was clearly quite weak for the bulls. Sell on rally got firmly established yesterday. The market gave 2 rallies yesterday, and both were sold into. It's just that because of some programmed trades right at the 200-day moving average, we saw some buying yesterday. But the sell on rally is intact now till you reclaim the nearest moving average, which is the 5-day exponential moving average, which comes in at somewhere around 17,250. 17,250 technically is also a very important level. Above and beyond, below this, the markets have made some decisive moves. So that's why this becomes significant. I think for me, the bigger worry is what's happening to the Bank Nifty, because remember just 5 or 6 days back, the Bank Nifty hit an all-time high. And from all-time high, it's corrected about 8% in a matter of last 5 days. So I think this is really very interesting because IT might, just in the near term, might stay resilient because of currency, because we are heading into earnings. Nasdaq did well. So the Bank Nifty is beginning to fall more. And that, I think, might be a trade which might continue, the algo trade, because of what's happening. The Bank Nifty, in fact, is still 2,000 points off its 200-day moving average. Now, I'm not saying that we go there. But what I'm trying to say here is that because it had such a massive outperformance, the risk also becomes bigger on the Bank Nifty. There's expiry tomorrow, so you expect some kind of momentum, which is clearly visible now. So let's see how things move. This FI selling is now approaching $2 billion for the last 5 days, and this was the fear that the ETF buying, which propelled our markets in last month, is it deserting us because the momentum has been lost? So that's something to find out. I think the cue to watch is the USD INR. For the equity markets to stabilize, for this algo trade to go, which is self-financials, you need to see some stability in USD INR. It doesn't need to go back to 80. It doesn't need to, strengthen a lot. It just needs to stop falling. Right now, we're falling like 9 pence on the currency. And when that happens, obviously, the equity markets also suffer. So that's another reason that, we are seeing this kind of decline. Prashant, hi, what are you tracking?
Guys, so this morning, if you look at US futures, right, they're down sharply, 0.5%, 0.75% lower. So it's a sharp turnaround, and I was trying to figure out why this has happened. The reason seems to be that Apple has basically indicated, I read it on Bloomberg, that Apple has indicated that they will delay the ramp up in production because they are seeing demand faltering. So that is the big headline, I think, which is pressuring U.S. futures right now. You look at the S&P 500 futures, they're down 0.75%. Overnight U.S. markets did not do very much. They were flat. But this morning, they're down sharply. And you look at tech-sensitive, markets which are very, not dominated, but have lots of tech hardware components. You look at Kospi, that's the Korean market, which is down sharply. You look at the Hong Kong market, you look at a bunch of others, and Asian markets are selling off. So I think that's basically the new thing which has happened, to which Asia, at least this morning, is reacting to, including US futures. Overnight, it's more of the same. S&P 500 down for the 6th straight session. By the way, for the bulk of the session last night, overnight, markets were in the green. They were attempting the pullback. Even when we were trading till 3:30, US futures were indicating a higher start, and they got a higher start, but into close, all of that kind of disappeared. The S&P is at the lowest level since December of 2020. Volatilities are increasing, not just the wicks, but the volatility of the wicks. They are both above the May-June highs that we saw this year. That was after the invasion, the Ukraine-Russia war started. DXY is back above 114. It looks like it's headed to the next target, logically, is the 120 kind of zone. So we'll see if it goes to that. But the pace of increase last 2 or 3 days has been very, very fast. US yields, the 10-year is back at 4%. And by the way, last night's move, and it's a complete turn, yields were lower and they jumped. They ended 2 basis points higher, but from the lows almost about 8 basis points. That was not just because of Fed speak, which was hawkish, but also because US economic data is resilient. You had things like the consumer durables data for August. New home sales jumped 28% month on month. This is US. It could be a monthly aberration and maybe things normalize, but for the month that they reported, 28% month on month increase. And we also had the consumer confidence data, which was strong. All of this suggesting that this high frequency numbers are saying the US economy remains resilient and it should be able to absorb higher rates, which means the conclusion for us is that higher rates are coming, which will be required, as the Fed has repeatedly said, to induce some slack into the economy, which leads to slower growth. So, it's more of the same in that sense. And of course, we had Fed speak as well. 3 Fed presidents, regional Fed presidents, all sounding hawkish, saying the November hike should perhaps be 75 as well. And we are in for a higher, tougher rate environment for longer. That was the unanimous message which came through. Just one thing from Europe, and this is kind of a developing story, but, there were lots of reports which said that there is the Nord Stream 1 pipeline which carries gas. That's the main pipeline which carries gas from Russia to Germany, to EU actually, around which there has been so much controversy. There's been some damage which has been caused. No real indication of whether this is a kind of some sort of a planned attack, sabotage, or just some issue which will be sorted out. But I think this is very important. Gas prices in Europe jumped about 7% last evening. And I think today markets there will wait for some clarity as far as the pipeline itself is concerned. So overall, it remains a pretty risk-off kind of environment into which the market here will open. Sonia.
Okay, so Apple dropping plans to increase production, right? You know why that is, right? Because the iPhone, people have realized the 14 is exactly the same as 13 and 12. So.
But wasn't the 13 the same as 12, 12 the same as 11? But each one was...
there's a joke doing the rounds, right? Now, first it was you get the box with the phone and the charger and the headphones.
Yeah.
Then the next year it's without the headphones. The third year without the charger. One fine day there'll be a box without the phone itself. You have to buy everything separate. So that's the joke.
Sonia, you've known my view on iPhone, right? If you're buying the phone for 1.6 lakh, 20,000 is the price of the cost of the phone. 1.4 lakh is the price of your ego.
Of your ego.
No, I am a big fan, though, I must say. Although I wouldn't buy that number
iPhone.
seems to... I'm on an iPhone 6 still, and I'm absolutely happy.
See, now we know why Apple has stopped production. Because there are people like you who are still, very content with the earlier iPhone.
But Apple, I heard, slows down the previous versions. So if you,
this is working fine, just fine for me. So
the battery suddenly stops working, Prashant. When the new iPhone is launched, the older one.
All conspiracies.
Okay.